Welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Today we're looking at the new Air Force GAU-5A aircrew self-defense weapon. Now, first off, I want to give a call out to Michiko or William Trotter at Ozark Bear Arms for making this video possible. He was kind enough and patient enough to loan this to me, so I'm very, very thankful to him. Now, the Air Force, throughout the 1960s has used various forms of the M16. They were the first ones to use the original Model 601. The Air Force has also had their various versions of the GAU-5s and 5As and so on and so forth, where they've had them for the security police. Now, the M6 survival rifle was very, very rudimentary. It was not something that was designed as a combat rifle. When you take a look at it, your stamped steel, it's a over and under. You have a 410 bore and a 22 Hornet. The ammunition was stored in the stock. The stock, I believe, you had 9 rounds of 22 Hornet and you had 4 rounds of 410 bore. The whole purpose of this type of a weapon was to hunt for food, or 2 was to disarm a soldier and take his weapon as basically a self-defense weapon. Now, it was very short. It was only about 15 inches when it was folded. The barrel length was 14 inches. It did fit very easily inside of a cockpit. It really wasn't a great self-defense weapon, and you had to be very close to use it. The next iteration would be the M4 rifle that was made by H&R. And basically what we had here was a very short 14.5-inch 22 Hornet that had a telescopic stock. It was basically a wire stock like that of the grease gun that we would have. It was a small 4-shot capacity. It was also bolt action, so it wasn't much better than the original M6, but it was still lightweight. Now, the next iteration, which would be very interesting, would be designed by Gene Stoner at Armalite, the AR-5. Not to be confused with the AR-7. The AR-5 was a 3-piece personal defense weapon where you had the barrel assembly, you had the receiver which held the action, and that all could be stowed inside of the plastic stock. And that stock could also be used as a flotation device. Again, this was the AR-5, not the AR-7. This was a bolt action, not a semi-automatic. Of course, the AR-7 was also a 22 long rifle. So there you have basic iterations of what was carried. Of course, they carried handguns, everything from the 30 special revolvers to 45 automatics, and even to the current day with the M9. Now comes June of 2018. The first time in all those years, the Air Force has now adopted a new personal defense weapon, except for this time, it's a real, true rifle. It's a one that they can depend on and use as a primary weapon, and it's based off of the combat-proven M4 system. What you have here is the new Air Force GAU-5A, and this is a aircrew self-defense weapon. Now, when we look at the standard M4, we're looking at a relatively large rifle. Even if you were to take it down, you're still going to have it too long to be able to fit under a cockpit seat. So that really wasn't going to happen. So they needed something that they would be able to get relatively short. So the M4 was certainly the base for it, but it was just not going to do it. So shown here is the GAU-5A. Now, as we see, we look at the back. This is a pistol brace that's on here. This particular model was provided by Midwest Industries, and it's a commercial version. So, the civilians, we can have the same kind of rifle that they have without having the SBR. Of course, you could put the regular M4 stock and SBR it, and you'd have the exact same rifle. But what really is unique about this rifle is the actual Air Force ones are not. They don't buy them from anybody. They get the parts together, and the Air Force builds them down in Texas. And their basic components are similar. The lower receiver is the same as a standard M4 with the exception of the Fab Defense folding pistol grip, which you have a button on the left-hand side which allows you to fold it up, and this assists you with stowage. On the actual Air Force one, again, we stated we have the standard M4 stock assembly. This one here has a pistol brace. Now, looking at the upper receiver, the upper receiver is standard, and a standard bolt carrier group. You have backup sights. This rifle is not issued with any kind of an optic. It's issued with the Magpul M-Bus Pro sights. Military version, safe semi-burst. Commercial version made by Midwest Industries, safe semi-auto. So as we stated, the Air Force needed something that was going to be extremely compact, and how are they to go about doing that? Now, just simply taking off the upper receiver and putting it over the side here, that was not going to be enough to make it sit underneath the cockpit seat where it needed to be. The company who produced the product that was just what they needed was a company called Cry Havoc. And Cry Havoc designed what they called a quick barrel release, which we're going to see right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to lock the bolt to the rear, and we have 2 levers. We have 2 levers. We're going to pull back, and pull back, and we're going to release them from the front of their extension, and we're going to pull that right off. So now if you look at the overall length, you have a very short rifle to fit underneath that aircraft seat. So basically, what we have here is a new barrel nut. And we have the adapter. The adapter, as you can see here, has the area where the clamps catch onto. We have a modified gas tube in the rear, which allows also for the indexing. And of course, you see the barrel extension. Of course, this is a standard M4 barrel extension. This Cry Havoc quick release barrel neck can be put on any AR-15 type barrel of any sort. For as far as the testing has been concerned, it really, I don't think, has been tested the same way the M4 is. It's not designed to be a full-fledged assault rifle, but the testing that they put through, it shows that this is a primary weapon that could be used by a downed pilot. The barrel is a 12.5-inch nitride barrel. It's an M4 profile carbine system. Now, the handguard you have on here is a Midwest Industries handguard, M-LOK, as you can see. I have added on here the Manta M-LOK rail covers. Again, when I fired this rifle, it tends to get hot. I mean, you have a lot of metal touching metal, and metal conducts heat. So these made a great big difference. And we do have a code on Manta's website. We have a standard A2 compensator on here. So your overall barrel is pretty conventional. The only really difference that you have here is the addition of this 3-piece Cry Havoc quick release barrel mount. So again, we look here, we can see the interface, we can see the barrel nut, so it's put on like a standard barrel nut, and we can see the hole for the gas tube. And we also have a hole for a gas tube and for our alignment pin. So when everything goes right back together, barrel goes in, alignment pin lines up right with the scallops on the barrel nut. Now we put both clamps together. We make sure they're hooked on the notch, and there we have it. Now, this particular version, again, is very much identical to what you're seeing from that of the Air Force, except the entire gun's put together by Midwest Industries. And it's typical, non-remarkable. You have 775 T6 aircraft grade aluminum. You do have an ambi safety on here, standard bolt catch, standard bolt release. So for this assembly, we're going to make sure we lock the bolt back to the rear, open up both notches, and make sure we have the hooks disengaged. Drop down like so. Now we're going to press our button. We're going to stow our grip. And there you have it. Now, as this one comes in the Air Force in its pack, you see what you would see here, and you'll see 4 magazines. When you consider that the rifles before this, you would have 4 rounds of 22 Hornet, or you would have 9 shots of 22 Hornet and 4 10 bore. You're getting a full 120 rounds of 5.56 NATO ammunition. And as you can see from the photograph we're showing you, you can see how it stows right underneath the seat. So when the seat's ejected with the pilot in it, and the seat lands, he's able just to retrieve this package, and there's his survival rifle. Reassembly again, engage, line up our indicator pin, make sure we're engaged on both sides, and there we have it. So when we tested it with a few different kinds of ammunition. We had Black Hills 5.56 55 grain full metal jacket. We had some 6 Hour 55 grain full metal jacket. We didn't shoot for accuracy with this rifle as far as we didn't use optics, because it doesn't come with optics. We just use iron sights. And I was engaging targets at 25 and 100 yards without a problem. So we're going to take this rifle to the range, and we're going to see how it shoots. Of the rounds that we put through, which is approximately 500 rounds or so, we had no malfunctions whatsoever. It worked beautifully. There was no malfunctions. Recoil was no different than any of that of any other M4. And once we had the sights sighted in, we had no problem engaging silhouette targets from 25 to 100 yards. And again, it was steel, so we didn't really shoot for the groups. If you take a look at the components for the quick barrel release, you can see it can be used with any barrel, and pretty much any handguard can be applied to it as well. For the most part, this system's set up the way the Air Force wanted it, and they're still done at the Air Force. But these are a little hard to get a hold of right now, but they are available for commercial use. Now, it has an MSRP of $1,450. And that comes just as you see it. This is everything that the Air Force would have with a commercial semi-automatic only lower receiver, all the same components. Now, many people who are looking at these are going to want to get it the exact same configuration, so they're going to SBR the lower receiver so they can get the proper GI M4 stock. Now, this is really revolutionary considering what's been done since the 1950s with personal defense weapons for downed pilots. Over the years, when pilots have had to bail out, they've had basically handguns with 15-shot magazines or even revolvers with 5-shot, and they carry maybe an extra 10 or 20 rounds with them. By having this, they actually have a rifle that they could engage a target or multiple targets with reliably without any issue, and they could match an AK-47, which before they could never do that. You're looking at a Air Force down pilot having a weapon that could win a battle against an AK-47, and something that he could carry until he was able to get rescued, and he would be able to depend on. So, overall, this is something that you can buy as a complete rifle, or you can build yourself. The parts are available from Cry Havoc. The barrels are a barrel of your choice. Receivers are your choice. Of course, it being a basic M4, the lower receiver is the standard M4. You could drop this upper receiver on any SBR that you would have as well. It's a very, very impressive unit. It's very interesting the way that the Air Force went around doing it. They basically saw the problem, and they gave a very good viable solution. So I think this is an excellent rifle. Anybody who's interested in something that's very compact, they want a reliable M4, this could fit in any kind of a tactical backpack. It's very, very small, and it's a lot of firepower. And a 12.5-inch barrel, we're getting a little bit more reliability than we would even with a 10.5-inch Mark 18. The longer barrel that we get, the more dwell time we get, the more time this system is pressurized, the better we're going to be for as far as easier extraction. So they did a good job by giving you a little bit longer barrel than 10.5 inches as well. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you do, please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share. Thank you.